Okay, in this video I'm going to give you my first impressions of Windows 8 Consumer Preview. Now, I've already done a couple of videos on Windows 8, whether it's the Developer's Preview or now the Consumer Preview, and if you're interested in those videos, please check them out. There'll be a link at the end of this video. But in my previous video, what I did is I installed Windows 8 Consumer Preview on my desktop PC up here. And it is not a full retail product yet. There still is some time left in the development cycle, and also the device manufacturers don't have drivers readily available for this system yet. So I encountered a problem with my audio driver on my desktop, and unfortunately I couldn't get them running, so I don't have sound on this Windows 8 system as of yet. I'll still be working on it, but I have tried a lot already. I have devoted several hours to it, and I just couldn't get it to work. I downloaded the latest drivers from VIA because it is a VIA audio chipset on this computer, but it only recognizes up to Windows 7. Again, Windows 8 isn't out yet. So let's start up this computer. I'm going to hit the power button right now. And when I first installed this Windows 8 Consumer Preview, the wireless dongle I had didn't work. And as you see there, it says it's resuming from hibernation. So it's going to do that even though I shut the entire system down. I guess it goes into hibernation unless you cut the power on the system. Now originally, like I said in my previous video, I couldn't get the wireless card or the wireless dongle to work, but all I had to do was use the driver disk that came with the dongle, and it worked perfectly with Windows 8, even though it was written for Windows 7 and lower. So the first thing that you see here that you're greeted with is a lock screen, and it gives you the time, the day and date, and also your wireless signal. Now, as I said, this is a lock screen, and you're most familiar with lock screens on mobile devices and tablets. And they're there for a reason, because you don't want to have any input on the device that you don't necessarily mean to do. Because generally cell phones and tablets have an open screen, nothing covering it, so there's a lot of opportunity for erroneous input if you don't have a lock screen. So I see why they included it, because in Windows 8 it is a tablet and a desktop operating system. And it is really beautiful. This is a picture of a coral reef and an ocean. But unfortunately, in a desktop environment, it's not necessary at all. It's actually an extra step when you start up the machine, an unnecessary extra step. And it's not that hard to get rid of. All you have to do, I don't know if you can see my mouse pointer on the screen, all you have to do is grab and drag it up, and then you're greeted with your login here. But normally when you start up a Windows PC, you go straight to the login. You don't have to worry about a lock screen. So it's just one extra step that you have to deal with. So if I were to give out advice right now to Microsoft, I would say make that lock screen optional. Make it default on tablets and make it default off on desktops. And if you like it, because I'm a fan of choice, if you like to have that lock screen on your desktop, by all means have it. But I see it as just an extra step, unnecessary step. So I'm going to log into my account here. And this is what you're greeted with, all of your live tiles. And this is your start menu. Now if at any time when you're using this computer and you want to get to the start menu here, all you have to do is hit the Windows button or the Windows key on your keyboard. Obviously every Windows keyboard has a Windows button, and every Windows tablet will have a Windows button on it, a dedicated Windows button. So as I mentioned in my video for the developer preview, you have all these live tiles that you can change the orientation of them, you can put them in different categories here, you can resize some of them, you can pin new ones here or remove these if you're not going to be using them. I like this setup because you can set it up where you have a lot of your information right in front of you at your fingertips at the same time without having to go into individual programs. For instance, you have your mail here, you have an Xbox Live app here, you have your people tile here. So there's a lot of ways to just at a glance see the information that's important to you. So I do like that. But this new setup is going to take a lot of getting used to, at least for me. Now, on a desktop environment, the corners are important. So if you go to the lower left-hand corner, that's always going to be bringing you to your start menu. Just as you would do on a regular desktop, your start button usually was down in the lower left-hand corner. Well, if you go down to the lower left-hand corner, you can always get to the start menu, and I'll show you that when you go to the desktop here. If you go down to the lower left-hand corner, you see a little icon or a little representation of your start menu pop up, and all you have to do is click and you're brought back to your start menu. I find the easiest way to go back to the start menu here is just to hit the Windows button on your keyboard, though. Much quicker. But that's going to take some getting used to. And one thing that I'm already finding problems with is if I go down here, you see the representation of your start menu, and your first reaction or your first instinct is to want to click on that, but it disappears when you go to click on it. So if you just put your pointer to the extreme corner and click, you'll be okay. But if you try and click on it, it will disappear. Now in your upper left hand corner, you can go up there and just hover there, and it will show you your last screen or your last app that you were dealing with. And you can scroll through that by just clicking. In the upper right hand corner, if you go over there, it brings out your charms here, which are your search, your share, your start menu, your devices, and your settings. In your lower right hand corner, if you go to hover, it also brings up your charms, but there's actually a little icon down here which allows you to take a higher view of your live tiles there. And you can toggle between it just by clicking on it. And if you use your scroll wheel on your mouse, you can go from right to left. Now from your start menu here, all you have to do is start typing on your keyboard if you want to search for an app. So I'm typing control, and you can go straight to your control panel from here. So it's similar to what you're used to. If you would go down to your start menu here and start typing, it would bring you to whatever you want. It's just a little bit different implementation. Now I'm going to go into settings, so I'm going to go to my charm on the right hand side here and click on settings. Now this settings menu is a little bit disjointed. Up at the top here you have settings. I'm going to click on that, and it gives you a couple of options. Show administrative tools, and I have that selected to yes, and that's why you see some of these live tiles that aren't very colorful on there, and that's what the administrative tiles are. You could set that to no if you don't want them on there. And then clear personal info from my tiles. That's all you have on these settings here, or start settings. If I go back, I go down here, you have your wireless signal, you have your audio, which is disabled, and as I explained before, I can't get to work on this installation. You also have your screen brightness here. Notifications, this is where you power down, but we'll get into that in a minute. And then you have your keyboard layout here. And below that you have more PC settings. So I'm going to click on that, and that brings up a more deep settings menu. And the first thing is your lock screen, which, as I explained, should be able to be disabled, but I haven't figured out how to disable it on a desktop because it's really an unnecessary feature. But if you're on a tablet, like I said, a lock screen is definitely a necessity, and the cool thing is that you can have lock screen apps. So you can actually put apps on your lock screen here if you wanted your email or text messages or IMs or anything like that. You could put it on your lock screen so you could, at a glance, just check important notifications. You also have the option of customizing your start screen here, the color. The backgrounds are all set. There's not a way to actually put a picture as your background, which I would like as an option, but basically just choose a color and then a design on top of it. And then of course your account picture, you can put whatever you want on there. Then you have your users, the way you can manage your users on the system, your notifications, your search options, your share options, your general settings, your privacy, your devices, the ease of access, syncing your settings, home group, and then of course Windows Update. So it's a nice clean menu, very modern, and it's nice to see something new. But it could be a little closer to the surface instead of having it just a link at the bottom of the settings menu on the device. Let's go back to the start menu here. Now this video is not a full review, it's just my first impressions on Windows 8 Consumer Preview. And I do like a lot of it, but it does seem like two separate approaches being mashed together, a little schizophrenic. It could have a little bit more refinement in the steps that you take to get where you want to get. And there's definitely going to be a learning curve if you're used to using Windows. I just installed this, so I don't know how long it's going to be, the learning curve, but there is definitely going to be a learning curve to be fluent in Windows 8. So the pros, I do like this start menu. I do like the layout of it. It's a little more user-friendly. Some things are more on the surface, but the schizophrenic nature of this tablet and desktop OS that's basically the same OS leads to a couple of things that make it a little bit fractured or schizophrenic. As I said, the settings here, let's just go back to that. You have the two different settings. I mean, this is the start settings up here, but then you have the regular settings, the more PC settings. That should be all in one. It shouldn't be so hidden like that. Now, if I'm in my desktop here, and I want to go to, say, Control Panel, unless I have a shortcut on my desktop here, I'm going to have to go back to that Start menu. And if I don't have a live tile of the Control Panel, I'm going to have to type in Control Panel and then go to my Control Panel from there. If I want to go to my computer on the device, I have to go back down to the Start menu, and I happen to have a live tile for that. But it's called Windows Explorer here. So I'm going to click on that, and there we go. I'm sure there's a way to make a live tile for my computer, but as I said, there's going to be a learning curve using this. Now, in Windows 7, if you want to shut your machine down, it's two steps. You click on the Start button, and then you go to Shutdown. It's generally right on top there, right in your Start menu. That's two steps, possibly three steps if you want to go into a restart mode or a hibernation mode or something like that. But with Windows 8, it's 4 clicks. So they've actually doubled the amount of clicks to shut down the system. So you have to go to the Start menu, that's 1 click. Then you have to go to Settings, which is 2 click. And then the third click is your power down here. And then the fourth click is your sleep, your shutdown, or your restart. In this case, I'm going to shut it down. So, like the lock screen, there's a couple of things that have been added that don't streamline the operating system, that actually add steps to the operating system. Now, I've brought the system back up because you're probably going to say, well, you can just hit the power button on your system to power the machine down without having to go through any steps. So basically you go from 2 mouse clicks on Windows 7 to 1 power button click in Windows 8. And that's true. But after using Windows PCs for too many years to mention, I've been trained to use a software shutdown on a machine. I never touch the power button unless I have a lockup. So again, that's something to get used to, but really there's no reason why there can't be a comparable software way to shut the machine down that there is in Windows 7 without actually adding 2 steps to the process. So in some ways, Windows 8 is a step forward, but in other ways, it's a step back. So I'm going to need more time with this before I can give a review on Windows 8. As I said, these are just my first impressions. And in case you're wondering what the power button shutdown looks like, I'm going to press the power button right now and you can see for yourself. Just press it once and it says shutting down. And it's pretty quick at shutting down. So that's pretty much it for this video. If you have any questions or comments, please post them down below. If you like what you see, please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, or favorite the video. It definitely helps out my channel. And that's it for now. So I'll see you guys next time.